Well, in today's painting, we've got a snow-capped hill with reflections in a loch, based on a scene in the Highlands of Scotland. And I've got some colours mixed for the sky, so the very next thing I'm going to do is to wet the whole of the sky area. You can see that I've chosen to mask out the tops of the hills where I know I'm going to need some white paper to depict the snow. And again, I want to make sure that I wet the whole of the sky area and that I don't miss any. So I'm looking at it sideways on for that shine on the paper. There's a large area there I've actually missed. So it is worth doing that, because any dry lumps would really spoil the effect of the sky. Okay, I'm now picking up a large number 16 round brush. Make sure it's clean. And I've got some colours already mixed. I've got a mixture here of Naples yellow and burnt sienna to give us a bit of a glow in the lower part of the sky. Just take the whiteness off the paper, really. Right down to the tops of the hills. Right down over that distant hill there. If you've got a distant hill, you're better to bring the sky down behind it. And then a little bit into the centre of the sky. And then straight away I'm picking up the blue mixture. This is cobalt blue with just a hint of rose madder in it. Not to make a purple, but just to take the coolness off the blue and warm it slightly. When that blue gets in with that slightly red background colour, you get a nice warm grey forming on the paper. Right, now I've got a grey mixture as well, and this is made of cobalt blue, rose madder and a bit of burnt sienna. I'll use that maybe to darken the sky at the very top there. And that tones in really well with the cobalt blue because that's the main ingredient of it. And perhaps a bit more cloud, a bit more blue rather down here to contrast with the white on that hill when I'm ready for it. So while that's drying, I'm just going to mix some more colours for the hillside. I want a bit more blue so that the shadows on the snow reflect the blue in the sky. So that's cobalt blue with a little bit of rose madder. I want a bit more of the grey, cobalt, but maybe a little bit stronger this time. Cobalt blue, rose madder and a touch of burnt sienna. I don't need any more of the Naples yellow and burnt sienna, so I can clean that out. And then there's a nice sandy colour on the hillside, slightly reddened by the bracken. And for that I'm going to take raw sienna and burnt sienna. And then as we come down to where the hill levels out and you get more of the look of pastures and a farmed area, there's a bit of green. And I'm going to take Oriolin and cobalt blue. Make a nice spring or summer green. And I want one more colour, which is a bit of brown. And for the brown I'm going to take burnt sienna and cobalt blue. But this is stronger now. This is a much stronger mixture than the other colours. They're washers, but this is much thicker. So that's all dried off now. And I'm going to remove the masking fluid. With the tip of the finger. I find it's better to rub away the masking fluid rather than to peel it, because if you're going to tear the paper, it would be while you were peeling it that would happen. Now the light's coming from the left hand side. In fact, I'm going to give myself a little reminder of that. And I've got a number 8 brush and the mixture of cobalt blue with a touch of rose madder for the shadow, which is going to be mainly on the right hand side of the mountain. So let's start over at this right-hand side. And I'm deliberately leaving the brush fairly dry so that I get that hit and miss effect, catching the texture of the paper. I've intensified the blue, made it a little bit darker and a little bit greyer by adding a touch of the grey into it. And let's make the colour that bit darker furthest away from the light. Here as well, I think we'll have a bit of snow on this bit. But the snow is really on the cap of the mountain. It's not all over, so as I've worked my way down, I'm bringing in more of the grey now to strengthen it. Just getting that hit and miss effect, so it looks like there's bits of snow laying there on the hill. Too much snow wouldn't look right, too much white paper. It's a case of just having a few touches of it. And now I'm gradually introducing that lovely orangey brown colour. That's the raw sienna and burnt sienna. Let's put a bit more blue into there. And I'm trying to use the direction of my brush strokes to describe the contours of the mountain. Okay, now let's get a bit bigger brush. I'm going to a number 10, making sure it's clean, and we'll put a bit more of the orangey brown in, the raw sienna and burnt sienna. Bringing it right down into there. A nice warm colour that. Maybe we'll touch a bit of grey into it. Suggests shadow. Again, keeping the brush strokes in the direction that describes the contours of the mountain. All right, as I bring that down, I'm going to start to introduce a bit of the green. This is the Aureolin and Cobalt Blue. Gradually introduce it. The best way to introduce it gradually is not to clean the brush from the last colour, but to carry straight on through. And then as I come down, I'm just going to mix a slightly stronger mixture of that green. Again, it's the Aureolin and Cobalt Blue. And as I come right down to the edge of the lock, it's that bit greener. Okay. Now at the water's edge, I want a few darker coloured trees. So I'm going to take some Aureolin and ultramarine blue to make a really rich dark green, and a little hint of burnt sienna in it so that it's a slightly olive green. And then at the water's edge, while the background light green is still damp, I'm touching in these shades. Because these are trees, of course, I want a soft, irregular edge to them, so I'm trying to get them all in while the background's still damp. Okay, now while that's drying, I'm going to mix some colours for the next stage. I need some more of the blue. I need some dark brown. I'm going to get some ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. And let's start with a number 2 brush and a bit more grey. And I'm just going to start trying to put a touch of detail in. You get fissures and cracks, you get rocks and boulders on the hillside, little touches of detail just to bring it to life. Maybe, I mean, at this distance, even a large rock or boulder is just a tiny little mark. But it just give us a little bit of a few hints of detail. Maybe pick out a dark against the light grey of the mountain next to it that I'll be doing a little bit later on. Okay, a number 8 brush. And I think we could do with a bit more shadow at this left-hand side here. That's the Cobalt Blue with a hint of Rose Madder. Just as though some passing clouds have cast some shadow onto the hill. And in this lower part of the hill here, where we start to get into pastures, just a few marks to suggest hedgerows, dry stone walls, that sort of thing. Nothing too detailed. It's too far away. A tiny little mark at that distance can look just like a tree. And maybe a little dry stone wall across there. And just one more thing, I think we'll have a bit more detail down at this side here, a few more darks in this for a touch of shadow. little bits of marks and to suggest bushes and trees. And I'm going to soften them in with a bit more of that orangey colour, the raw sienna and burnt sienna. Well, we're now at the halfway stage, so I hope you'll join me later when we'll finish this scene.